a sense very similar that you will see in your own analysis of transcripts. Only in this case, analysis of the transcripts here are basically sequential orderings of where one child's effort to deal with a particular object. I think it's Smurf. What does this 9-month-old boy do with it? It's opening interactivity using familiar scheme on familiar object. The Smurf goes in and out of the mouse 2 times. It's scrolled, little mistake here, on the floor, and then the position is observed, and then what they comment is the fixation of dominant procedure scrolling. The 9-month-old explores that Smurf by scrolling, observing. Then this first and dominant procedure is applied or activated on a new object. Jerome moves toward the object, lies on his stomach, looks at the object, approval, disapproval is detected, takes a full big box and scrolls it, looks at new position, takes matchbox, scrolls, looks at position, takes a cover, scrolls, looks at position, takes another scroll, looks at position. So what you see happening is a procedure that was applied first, shown, seen on the familiar object, is now in a variety of ways, on a variety of new objects, applied in a similar way, scrolling look. So, and finally, the important part for microgenetic analysis from Dunbar-Roberts' point of view is actually changing the particular action. Prior to this third phase, we didn't see any development, we didn't see emergence of any knowledge. We only saw application of the previous procedure, namely scrolling and looking, to new objects. And now we start to see that. Reinforcement of procedure on new objects, differentiation, for instance, roll instead of scroll. The 9-month-old starts to roll the object rather than scrolling, including new procedures, band and shape, so that repertoire of the child is observed in the same sequence to include new emerging actions, roll, band and shape. So the second big box, band on the floor, which is a new action, and scroll, which is a known one. The combination of the old and new is observed. Second matchbox shakes it rather than scroll. Moves those objects that was grown. First big box makes it grow. The previous box is now made to roll. It looks at trajectory and position. Not just looks at the object, but also the trajectory of rolling. So rolling is brought in, and rolling combined with observing allows to observe the trajectory of the roll. First cover takes and, well, she probably says not lives, but leaves. More like Geneva don't write things very often. New big box, third one, makes it grow, looks at trajectory and position. New box grows to trajectory position both. See the integration of the different sides. First matchbox shapes. First color grows. New color search grows. First color makes it grow, looks at trajectory and position. Second matchbox shapes. Second matchbox and in and out mouse shapes, grows, looks at position. So what you see, essentially, is that on the one hand, the relatively limited set of active actions with a particular object, they are triggered by adding new objects. but then what is actually developing are a set of actions with objects rolling, looking trajectory and position, which are in this context new. But we don't have any idea whether these are new in the ontogenetic sense. They are new only in respect to the given context here and now. And there is absolutely no way to verify that what is considered, what emerges here as new, in the microgenetic sequence, is new in the ontogenetic one. This is a question in principle left open, because even in the case of absolutely full record of the child's 9-month-old action from 0 months to 9 months, if we imagine an excessive videotape procedure where the baby is videotaped 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So, even then, we may not be able to specify when a particular action is ontogenetically exactly new. Some years ago, I had a naive idea of trying to specify when a baby starts to walk independently. So I videotaped a particular baby weekly, that was as much as I could, hoping to see the first step. I failed to see it for 2 reasons. First, of course, I was not there all the time. And second, there was no first step. The first step is not the first step, but the first step is a period when it is totally uncertain whether the baby, now around 12 months, makes the first step independently or not. The independence is not verifiable. What does it mean? It means the baby moves around with support, supporting oneself on the furniture. Is making a step when you support yourself with the furniture first step? Maybe. Then there are the adoring parents, or in this case, an adoring mother, who absolutely try to show me how the baby makes the first step. So the mother sets the baby up, standing, and lets the baby fall towards her. The baby, indeed, in the process, puts up 1 foot in front, 1 foot in front. Is this the first step? In some sense it is. In other sense, it is just a fall with a foot in front. So from that point of view, I'm saying that the only domain where we can specify novelty in our observation is microgenetic and not ontogenetic. Ontogenetically, the issue is more complicated than just seeing one episode of the very first something that comes into being. Now, in our everyday terminology, we constantly talk about the first something that comes into being. Our norms for poor parents who have to look at how the baby develops are given in the first level. First step, first word, first combination of words, first day at school, first day of adolescent conflict. But all of these are our superimpositions of order onto a very fluid, ontogenetic process, which is much slower in its character than our depictions of it are. Baby norms can be put on one page of a textbook or a book for parents, but parents would look for these norms on a daily basis for a relatively long time before they actually detect. So that brings us to a very central issue that I want to return to, namely that when Xavier Robert tries to talk about the combination of the linkages between macrogenesis, mesogenesis, and microgenesis, he is basically using these 3 terms to classify different kinds of paths to the research. but she is not using these three terms to analyze actual process of development. In contrast, Heinz Werner, from his earlier time, had a very clear interest in uniting microgenesis, ontogenesis, phylogenesis into one and the same scheme. Werner's comparative psychological approach claims to unify the three on the basis of external appearance. For example, particular microgenetic descriptions of emergence of meaning through a period of confusion or set of forecasters is seen to be similar to confusion in childhood and emergence of, for instance, first word meanings in ontogeny. Is seen to be similar in the emergence of human speech into species, and is claimed to be similar in contrast with pathological cases. The contrast with pathology, like aphasics to normals contrast, is seen to have the same characteristics as ontogenetic, microgenetic, and phylogenetic variants. This is an assumption which need not be necessarily so simple, but in order to make it simple, I think we need a little break, after which we will make it all very simple. So, as I explained before, this organization by Zander-Roberto, the three fellows, was, it seems to me, to be meant for only classification purposes rather than explanatory purposes. So, therefore, it may be a reasonable effort to try to make sense of the three levels of analysis in ways that are somewhat more general. It is, so on the one hand, these more general ways to connect the particular episodic event in everyday life with ontogenetic development at least. On the other hand, is to not require one-to-one correspondence between the microgenetic and ontogenetic level. That is, this is probably the most difficult question in developmental psychology of our present day, that we have not worked out very clearly what are the linkages between microgenetic events and ontogenetic development. All empirical demonstration of the role of the social environment in individual achievement by a developing child are microgenetic experiments. Puzzle solving by a child with the help of a mother is an experimental task within specific time limits here and now. It fits the question of here and now achievement. Whether this help or advice or suggestions provided by the adult or mother in that setting is of any ontogenetic relevance is not usually addressed as a question. What is assumed is that what we see in here and now situation, an adult and a child who is trying to solve a problem, is automatically relevant for ontogeny of that child. De facto, that amounts to assumption of one-to-one correspondence between each and every aspect of that happens in everyday life and ontogenetic progression. Each and every aspect of our everyday experience is assumed to be all of the genetic development. What is missing is the relevance of ignoring some of this experience, using some of this experience in new ways, eliminating some of it, just filling in some of the experience with activities that are known on the genetic growth. These are all possibilities that a co-construction stems to the linkage of here and now and ontogeny could include, rather than simple assumption that everything is relevant for development. So, with that in mind, I am suggesting an alternative to data Robert. So I will use the same labels, microgenesis, mesogenesis, macrogenesis, but I'm trying to give those, first of all, different roles in different locations in developmental processes as methods as well as processes. And I'm trying to differentiate them from one another as well as show how one is linked with the other construct. So in the case of microgenesis, what I was saying here is that this is an investigation of concrete processes of emergence of psychological phenomena, whatever they are, actions, feelings, meanings, ideas, POs, etc. Yeah? This investigation has a number of features. First of all, its units have to be determined. As you remember from the previous time, that I was talking about the necessity to look at periods of confusion between previous form if it exists and final form as it exists. So the comparison